Welcome to GabTalks, where we provide tools, tips, and techniques to help your life and business be easier, better, and faster. Hello, hello, hello. How are you? I'm Gabriella, and this is GabTalks Success Tips from Experts. And welcome to our next episode. You guys, I am got a huge treat for you today. I am bringing to you my friend, Ms. Ilene Meckley. Hi.
Excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. You have such an incredible background and such an incredible story. I'm so excited that our audience gets to learn about you today and how you became the expert that you are. So tell us, please, about your expertise.
Well, I love to increase community awareness in communities locally as well as globally, Gab. I just love to help a business really be able to be seen as a big business, no matter how their size, what their size is, but with a big focus on customer service and helping people feel cared about and valued.
This is an area that speaks to my heart, and I just love being able to bring people like Ilene to you guys. So Ilene, will you share with us about your background and your history? Because this is a really interesting story that I think a lot of people out there have a very similar kind of arc.
Yeah, well, thank you. I love sharing this. When I started my business life, we'll call it, I was in social work for many years. I have 5 children, now 7 grandchildren from those 5 children. I decided I really wanted to be able to spend more time with my kids, Gab. And so I thought, okay, what do I do here? Well, social work just didn't give me that opportunity. Having my own business would. But I was very shy, wouldn't talk to people I didn't know, didn't want to be a pushy salesperson. So I thought, oh no, sales isn't for me. But then all of a sudden I was introduced to a company where I was just really passionate about the product and the mission. And I realized that sales was not something you do something to someone. When you are passionate about something, you do it for someone. So I really taught myself my own language, Gab. I decided I'm going to choose words that are going to be words that I would want to hear. I would treat people the way I wanted to be treated. And so my story grew from not liking salespeople to realizing that I could choose to be the kind of salesperson I would want helping me, which is really what a salesperson truly does when their focus is on other people. So my story continues that I wrote some books and I started speaking to different kinds of companies. And then COVID hit and I had to think of some other things to do. So I started learning to do things virtually. I started creating new experiences. Even going on Instagram and YouTube was a new one for me. So I continued to grow through my experiences, but I started with really not sure what I wanted to do, but I knew what I felt like doing and just didn't always know how.
So the other thing about your background and history that I think is really awesome that a lot of people find themselves in a similar position, will you talk to us about how you took that passion for the product and started sharing it and didn't even try and somehow still wound up rising really high through the ranks of your company?
Yeah, it's really sort of funny. I earned an incentive trip and I got a letter and I said, what is this? Why are they giving me this? I had not even been keeping track of stats or anything. It was just this drive I had to let other people know about it. It's like having a good restaurant that you frequent, you know. I always say to people, don't get insulted if they're not interested in the restaurant. First, find out if they like that kind of food, because I think so many times, Gab, people when they're in business, they just don't understand. It's nothing to do about them, but everything to do about where the other person is. And I also feel, Gab, you do this every time you do one of these talks with people. You give people an opportunity to hear different things and then choose what to do after listening to it. So I think my story began with being afraid to talk to people I didn't know, to really being passionate about what I found, to realizing, wow, I could help other people, and even became a speaker and trainer, which is pretty amazing since I was afraid to talk to a couple people. Now I could talk to thousands or one person because I've understood it's not about me. It's about how I can serve and help.
I love that. A lot of people who have all this knowledge in their head and they're really smart and experts, but they don't know how to get their messaging out there. They're shy or they are like not keeping track, like you said, and they too can do it. So I want to ask you, because this always excites me when I hear this, I want to ask about your inspiration. And you have a very interesting and unique inspiration that you guys, you have to hear this story.
I want you all to imagine growing up, being a child of someone who was really good at getting information from anybody, from someone who was who's a famous mobster, to testifying on, in Congress at a hearing with tough questions. Well, I had a person like that who was my father. He was really good at getting information, so it kept me on my toes, trust me. But what I really learned from him, Gab, was that as a young child, he watched his father, where the mob really was taking over a lot of the money that my grandparents were making. And as a young child, there's a picture of him in his book when he was 8 years old in a police uniform. And he knew at 8 years old what was going on. And he always said he would do something to fight crime. And then my dad and my mom, they got married while they were in college. My mom was a freshman and my dad was a sophomore. He went on to pursue law school and get this job to create the program. And he had multiple sclerosis, often had difficulties, which really ended up helping me as I went through a horrific experience where I was in a hospital for 5.5 months and had to learn to walk again. And I really feel that his influence, but he happened to be a wonderful dad who had a lot of challenges, that he never let them define him. And I've really learned that, not to let anything define me like that. So my mother, of course, was wonderful. She's still living. Thank you. I'm so glad. But I think too, what I've learned from her through the experience of losing my dad these last 2 years is that anyone who is an influence for you and they're not here, they are here. That's what really helps me. He continued to influence me up until the day he died. The night before, I was in charge of being sure he wasn't in too much pain, because he did that for me while I was in hospital for 5.5 months. So I told him I'd make it my job. And that one night before he passed away, I said, "So Dad, are you ready for your pain medicine?" He said, "I don't have any pain." I said, "You don't?" He said, "No, I don't. I'm feeling really good. And I want you to know that right now." And that was that night. And so he, even to that last minute, knowing what was happening, he still felt really good. And I think that's something that I just want to pass on to my children, grandchildren, anyone who I come into contact. You can feel really good no matter what. It's not going to define you what's happening now.
Are you comfortable sharing with our audience what it is that your father's known for?
Sure. My father actually started the Federal Witness Program. It's called WITSEC. That's where, if you see in TVs and movies, people have a new identity, a new location. That's what he did. And he also taught me something that I'm going to share with you before we move on to the next question. And that was, he used to say all the time that when he would be talking to some famous people that you would know, there's some of in this book, the Joe Valachi, Sammy the Bull, the Gaudis, the Goodfellas, those kinds of people, he always would let them know that you might not like what I have to say to you, but I guarantee what I say to you is the best that I can do for you and the truth for you. And I think that's a really great thing to live by.
I love that quote so much. I'm going to ask you to repeat it.
Yes. And that is, you might not like what I always say to you, but I guarantee what I'm going to say to you is the best I can do for you and is always the truth.
If we all live our lives with that philosophy, can you imagine how amazing all of our interactions would be with each other, and our levels of expertise would just skyrocket? That's phenomenal. Hello, awesome listener. Thank you so much for joining us today at GabTalks Success Tips from Experts. We're going to take a short break and say thank you to our sponsors. It is through the generous support of these sponsors that we are able to bring to you these amazing experts that are sharing their best tips for your success. So please listen to what our sponsors have to say, and hopefully they're going to inspire you that you're going to click their links and go support them.
Ever wish you had a generous, wealthy uncle? Well, this GabTalk sponsor may be the next best thing. If you've ever found yourself wishing some successful person would willingly invest their time, energy, and money in you to help you crawl out of the drudgery of your life, then this is your lucky day. Most people will ignore this. They'll think it's too good to be true. But if you'll pay attention, you may just discover that he is the guy. And as you might imagine, this is exactly why I've been asked not to reveal his identity. If I did, he would surely be overwhelmed by countless people sending in their sob stories in hopes of getting a handout. Well, he can't help everybody. He's not a charity. He's a business philanthropist, and he's made millions and would like to give back. He's willing to give a few total strangers a hand up. If you would like him to invest in you and you want more wealth, better health, and a drastically improved quality of life, simply click the link and tell him your story. Be honest. He'll see what he can do. I can't promise he's going to solve all of your problems, but he will make you this promise. If you have the courage to tell your story, he'll read every word and give you a valuable gift just for doing so. So go ahead. What are you waiting for? Click the link and share your story.
Is your computer secure? Is your personal information at risk? Global internet traffic is at an all-time high due to COVID, with mobile accounting for over half of it. Is your financial data under attack? People are on YouTube and Facebook and all over social media. Hackers are everywhere. Can you protect yourself? Tech Assist can help. I think I've been hacked. Help. Keep your personal data safe. Oh no, my computer isn't working. Abby and Dar are your answer.
So Eileen, you said when you were a little kid, you were very shy, which surprises me, but I get it. So if you were able to go back and talk to that little kid, or when you were graduating high school, trying to figure out what you were going to do, is there one piece of advice that you would give?
Absolutely. You know, when I moved from Texas, I was 7 years old. My dad was actually up here for an interview with the Department of Justice, and Robert Kennedy was a part of this interview process with him. And we moved up here. Imagine a 7-year-old coming from Texas, going to the East Coast in Maryland and talking, and people saying, sometimes you say things funny, y'all, you know, things like those kinds of words. And I think that back then I was very sensitive to that. And what I would say right now is when you have something that you know, whether it's the way you talk, the way you walk, for me now it could be the way I walk because of an accident I was in, and you feel like people are either talking about you or laughing with you, as I mentioned earlier, what my dad said, never let it define who you really are. Never. And if I hadn't felt that way, I probably would have enjoyed more of my experiences in life than I did, because I used to be very fearful of certain experiences when I'd have to stand up and talk.
You know, that's such a great piece of advice, because I too was one of those people that found myself for years being defined by other people. And when I learned how to embrace myself, all my quirks and all my positives and negatives, and not be defined by others, I was able to make a massive shift.
And we are the only ones who know when we're doing our best, when we need to work harder at something, and we shouldn't let other people determine that for us.
Absolutely. So speaking of letting other people determine or living our own lives, because I know that you are a phenomenal coach and teach people these very concepts, would you share with us a few tips from your repertoire that people can go take action on right now?
Yes, I would ask people to go get a piece of paper and to define what I call their 3 Ps: their purpose, their passion, and plan. And I believe there should be 3 purposes, especially when you're growing a business. There should be a tangible purpose. You're working, you're going to make money eventually. Even if you're just starting, you'll make money if you consistently work at your business. So something you're going to do with the tangible, that money. I believe a personal growth purpose gap is so important. That's how I was able to succeed and get to where I could be, that I wanted to be. So what do you want to do? How do you want to grow personally? Put it down. That's a purpose for showing up and working your business. And then the third is how it'll enhance the lives of others. Always be sure that what you're doing, I don't care if it's selling, and I'm looking here, pens, okay? Whatever it is, there's a purpose. I love glitter, so I buy pins with glitter. So if someone would have that pin, I would go, yes. Someone else might think, I don't want a glitter pin. I just want a pin that works. It's lightweight, one that's heavyweight. So I always think you have to know what other people's purposes are as well as yours, but how will it enhance the lives of purpose? And then with purpose, and then the other is plan. I love to, but I say, use structured flexibility. So I would end with this section with saying, every day you wake up and you say, what do I want to accomplish today personally? What am I going to do professionally? And where will I choose to incorporate it throughout my day? And that's structured flexibility, not a choice as to if you're going to do something, it's when.
I like that. I like that a lot. And it's kind of apropos because before we started, we went through, and I do this with everybody before we started the interview. I go through the whole conversation first so that nobody gets thrown any curveballs, but I also explain to people that the conversation as it's laid out is flexible. I love it. That's awesome. When I first started doing these interviews, they were very Q&A and they weren't really a conversation. And as I've gotten better and better at doing these, it's much more conversational, as you can see. And just like you said, it's flexible structure. I love that phrase.
Yeah, structured flexibility is a great way to live.
And I like where you said it's not an if, it's a when. So we know that we're going to do it.
Yes.
And we have a defined plan and purpose, but we also give ourselves the grace of knowing that sometimes our list of 2 things is too big for the day. And sometimes our list of 20 things isn't big enough for the day.
Yes.
I love that flexibility.
And I think for the young person, I'll just sum it up with it. Everything you do should be intentional, not accidental.
I love it. On each episode of GabTalks Success Tips from Experts, we like to highlight a hero sponsor who is a business that chooses to highlight a do-good organization in their own community that is bettering the world. Today's hero sponsor is...
Hello world, this is Z, or you can call me Mr. Z. I am a web developer and I am also a consultant from Z World Webs. Today I want to highlight Nancy's House, because Nancy's House is a nonprofit organization that breaks the isolation and exhaustion that can come with taking care of someone who is chronically ill or disabled. Nancy's House also builds a community of support and offers self-care skills with 1 and 3 day in-person respite retreats, online workshops, and much more. To learn more about Nancy's House, please visit their website at www.nancys-house.org. The link can be found in the show notes. So with that being said, my name is Z from Z World Webs, and let's develop a website Z World is waiting for.
So Ilene, I know that we're coming to the end of this conversation and this interview, and I think that lots and lots of people should be reaching out to you and seeing how you can help them. Will you share with us how they can find you? And you guys, don't forget, the links are going to be down below in the notes, in the description. Make sure you click those links and contact Ilene.
I have my website, of course, with my name, Ilene Meckley, and I also have Instagram account, and that's something I do videos on every day. I've been doing that.
Nice.
And LinkedIn and Facebook.
Awesome. And they can find you just by looking up your name.
Yes.
Fabulous. And you've written a couple of books too.
I have, yes. And in fact, you can actually get, as a gift from me, an MP3 of one of my books. And so we will be sure that there's also a link that you can get that too.
Exactly. So we'll make sure that there's a link to at least one of Ilene's books that you can download for yourself. It is absolutely worth it. Super valuable content that you're going to learn from. Reach out to Ilene, find out how she can help you, see what she's doing. She is phenomenal at what she does, and you can too. So don't forget to click the subscribe button. Make sure you set your reminders so that you find out when our next episode is airing. Hey, thanks so much for watching. We hope you got value today. We want to give a huge shout out of gratitude to our contributors. Please make sure you click the subscribe button below, and don't forget to click the bell up above to get reminders when we add new content.